Hello, Brother Sewing and Crafting family. Angela Wolf here, Brother Ambassador, and we are on part 3 or week 3 of this awesome quilt along. So pop in, say hi. We are live in the chat today. So we're on Brother Sewing and Crafting YouTube and Facebook pages. As a reminder, you can go back and watch these anytime. And if you're watching this a year from now, you can still go back probably and watch all of these and follow along. So everyone, welcome Wendy. We're so excited, Wendy. This has been such a fun tutorial. So let me bring Wendy up. Wendy, how are you?
Good. How are you, Angela?
Oh my. So I'm doing great. And I say, oh my, because every time I look at that quilt, I actually wore an outfit that kind of matches it. I could stand in front of it and model for it. I love it. I love
Yeah.
it.
Hopefully you can see it. Okay. There you go. It's an
Oh my,
awkward backwards bend, but
I
you'll
like
get to
that.
see the full. I'll show you in a moment the full like quilt design on the from the iPad, so you get a better look at it. But
I
yeah,
absolutely love it. So for any, why don't we just give a quick recap what we've done so
sure.
far? Because some people maybe have been on spring break, they missed the shows, or they're brand new to Brother Sews. So give them a little update of what we're doing here with this free sew along.
Yes. So we are week 3 into the Midnight Medallion quilt along. So this is a quilt along that we've done. This is our 3rd year now with Brother and I. I'm one of the brand ambassadors that focuses on the quilting world of crafting. So yes, so the Midnight Medallion quilt. Let me just move my chair out of the way briefly. Um, Ignore the tripod, but here we go. I think you can get a relatively better view of this. I feel like I'm a weather report person. Broadcasting live from New York City. So we have the Midnight Medallion quilt here. It's a throw size quilt. It is 60 inches by 60 inches. It's really designed for all skill levels. So if you're fairly new, it's okay because I've got weekly blogs that will come along with this. So make sure you have subscribed to the Medallion Midnight Quilt Along email newsletter so that you can receive those links directly to those blog posts that will provide you with tips. But also, I will provide you the links as well to be able to rewatch the previous episodes or follow along with the Brother Facebook lives. But anyway, so more about the quilt. So the reason Midnight Medallion. So this design is like a medallion style quilt. So it really just starts off of like, the sort of main kind of design. And then from there on out, you kind of slowly build out to be like really blooms into something beautiful. So it's kind of got like a border that wraps around the sort of central focal point. So that is a medallion style quilt. So we are going to be creating friendship style quilt blocks, which is something that we explored last week. And then we will also be exploring sawtooth stars blocks as well as just border blocks as well. And this week we are now in week 3 because week 1 we did gathering, prepping, and cutting into the fabrics, which I have tips on that. So please go back and watch that if you're not sure. And then week 2 is all about the friendship style blocks. And then now we're focusing on the flying geese, which are these kind of little blocks. So I've made some samples before. So these are flying geese. There are a lot of flying geese involved with this particular project because they're used for the 4 sort of, or the 8 corners of a sawtooth star block. And also, they are part of all these border blocks as well. So we're going to be making a lot of these. There are going to be nearly 200 of these flying geese blocks. I know it sounds very overwhelming when I say nearly 200, but I have a few little sort of tips and tricks that would help speed this process up. Also, we will be using the no waste flying geese method or the 4 at a time method, which is essentially you're making 4 flying geese at a time. So that should hopefully speed up that whole process up. Let me show you on the quilt pattern. So I'm just going to bring up my tablet so you can see. Let's see. So we are going to be, I've downloaded the pattern. And if you wanted to get a closer look, because I know it can be a little bit tricky with the quilts in the back. But this is how it looks like. Hopefully the glare's not too crazy.
Beautiful.
But this is the overall quilt. This is the color I'm making it in. There are some more color inspirations on the back of the pattern, but I'll let you jump to that so you can get a little surprise. So if we're following the pattern, we are looking at pages 6 and 7 today. So we're making flying geese. So let's see.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it. By the way, anybody watching, make sure you leave your comments and questions. And I did post this. We're going to put it in the link so you can make sure if you have not downloaded the pattern. But here is Wendy's website where you can find the blog post, the pattern, a lot of the replays, all of that here. So just as a reminder, don't forget to download the pattern.
Yes. So on my website, there's I think it's like tips and tricks pattern section of the website. So you will find like all the weekly blog posts there. There's a blog post just specifically about the like what to expect for the quilt along. So if you're jumping in at the last minute or you've just suddenly came across this video a year later, you have all that information and like things that you need. And also there's another blog post where it just like provides you with all the links to all the or like the quick links to all the weekly blog posts as well. And then again on each of those you can there should be a link in those blog posts where you can sign up for those weekly newsletters as well for the duration of the quilt along. Okay, so just going to make
Perfect.
that part clear.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
That sounds great. So I'll monitor the questions and comments in the chat and I'll let you take it away.
Yeah. Okay. So let's turn over to my desk. So I kind of mentioned before, I already have created these flying geese, just kind of a sample for you. So these, we're going to be creating for these, we'll use the 4 at a time method. So I'm just going to set that aside. We're going to go to step 1. So step 1 says that we need to mark a diagonal guideline. You can use like a fabric pen or a pencil to do that. So I'm going to I'm just going to use D5. So it says D5 squares, E5 squares, F5 squares, and so on. So I'm going to do D5 because I like this peachy color. It's like one of my favorite colors. So I'm going to remove that. If you're working, so I'm working with a solid fabric, so there's kind of no definitive like wrong or right side. But if I'm working with a fabric that is like a printed fabric, let me show you an example, and you'll see. So I'll show you this. This is actually one of my fabrics that I designed. So this is, and obviously really on brand. I love this pink color, the salmony peachy color. So this is the right side of the fabric, but if you flip over, this is the wrong side of the fabric because it doesn't have the print. So if I'm working right before I'm marking squares, right, for this particular step, or you could use the same sort of thought or methodology when you're marking your own, when you're working on a project that's similar to this where you need to mark diagonal guidelines with a fabric pen or pencil. I like to flip all the squares so that the wrong side's facing like up. That way they're all set and I don't have to, keep flipping them over as I'm actually marking up all the squares. That makes sense. So that's like one less process for me to do as I'm, marking the squares. So the other trick that I have, so I kind of, because I know I'm going to mark a diagonal guideline from one corner to the other, I like to kind of arrange these in sort of like a diamond orientation. And I kind of like maybe, I'm just going to start off with maybe like 5. And I'm going to grab a ruler and then maybe like a medium-sized length ruler so I can kind of cover up the area of these squares that I've, laid out. And make sure you do use a ruler that doesn't have a grip as well, because then you can then glide it across as you're marking. So I'm going to grab my fabric pen or pencil, and this is like a really quick way in marking lots of squares. And I'll tell you why in a moment. But when I am marking a diagonal guideline on a square, I kind of offset the ruler just slightly, like just by a hair, from the center part, because then that way when I do mark with the fabric pen or pencil, it actually is right dead center. So I'll just show you like this. You can see, hopefully you can see. Yeah, so it's like really right at the points versus if I put the ruler right at where the line is, then I would draw the line that's slightly off the actual center. So that's just one thing to note. But anyway, so I'm going to slide the ruler and mark as I go. And this way is actually faster in comparison to just picking up a square at a time and then marking. Pick up, square, mark at a time. Whereas this is faster because I'm not having to pick up a square each time to mark. That makes sense. So that's done 5. Whereas if I like did 1, mark, and then put it away, pick up 1, mark, like adjust, mark, like it's just a little bit slower. But that's one that could be my opinion, but I just think personally it's just faster if you just lay these out in a diamond sort of orientation. I'm going to add a 6th one into this one this time around. And I try to not do too many, but not too little at a time in one batch. Because when there's too many, then it's kind of hard to control and you end up sort of the squares don't get caught underneath the ruler for you to then guide it, if that makes sense. So, and I guess like doing it into like little batches kind of gives you a good indicator of like, okay, what to expect. So you can kind of see it's a lot faster versus doing each individual one. So I'm just going to do this one more time. So that way you kind of get an idea. So have it in a diamond orientation, then mark, and then mark, and then mark. So I've marked 4 squares pretty quickly. You know what? I may as well just do it. Got 3 here. And then just slightly off the actual center and then mark. And there you go. So I marked these pretty quickly. And then I've actually pre-prepared this. So we have marked a bunch of the squares. I'm not going to continue marking all of them because we might use up all our time here. Even though I am showing you a relatively quick way in doing it. Anyway, so I'm now going to be creating Flying Geese set A, which is shown on step 2. And with that, you can then rotate this, and I'm going to put 1 square here and 1 square here. And then I'm going to grab, it's totally optional, but I typically don't, but you can put a pin here. And it's okay if the square on top is covering this, because that's totally fine. That's normal, and you can put that here. Oops, I'm gonna just pop it on this side actually, because it'll get in the way. And then what you do is you get on the sewing machine and then you sew a 1/4 inch away from that drawn line, and make sure that it's all lined up as well. And then we're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from this side of the line. So either side of on either side of the drawn line, we are going to sew a 1/4 inch away from the marked guide. But I'm going to pull out the pins because I'll show you how I sew without the pins. So, all right, I'm going to move my sewing machine closer, and I'm going to just slightly change the camera angle so you have a better view of my sewing needle.
I'll just take you out just for a second while she's changing that. And don't forget, we're live in the chat today, so leave your comments and questions below. Even if you're watching the replay, we will still answer those. So that looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's just kind of tilting on its own. Just kind of like it's being possessed, like by like a ghost.
There you go.
All right, so we are on the machine. I'm using the Brother BQ3100. It's the top of the line from the Quilt Club series. It's actually, yeah, I've been sewing on this for the last, I don't know, 5 years, and yeah, I love it. It's like a great workhorse. I haven't had any issues with it, so I love it. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm on the machine. Usually when you're working, well, when I turn on my machine, the needle is positioned in the center. So one of the great features on the Brother BQ3100 is the ability to just, with a hit of button, you can then get to the 1/4 inch seam allowance. And what it does, it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance and a 1/4 inch from the right edge of the presser foot. I'm using the J foot here, which is, I guess, the default or the standard presser foot. So yeah, so what I'm going to do is basically similar to what I had before. So I have the square here. To be more specific, I think it is A7 square. Okay, based on the pattern. So I have that, and I kind of have it on like a diagonal diamond, similar to when we were marking those squares. And then what I'll do is I'll place one of those marked squares on the top corner here, and then I have the guide going that way. And then I'm going to line up the right edge of the presser foot with the marked guide. And so I'm going to sew a little bit, and I'll stop roughly about, 2/3 into this drawn line. And then I pick up this other square, marked square, and it's got the diagonal guideline. So I'll match it up with the corner here, match up the edges here, and then make sure that the diagonal guideline is also matched up with the one that is in front of me. And then I'll sew. And let me grab another one and I'll show you what chain piecing looks like. So then that way so if you've got all your squares drawn on, and then you've got all them cut up, you can do a whole batch of them at a time. So I'm going to lift this up slightly, and so, and then I just stop roughly like, 2/3 of that drawn line. I get the second square, I match it at the bottom here, make sure that these edges are also matched up, and then lift it up slightly, the presser foot, and then make sure that the drawn line here is matched up with the drawn line with the first square, and then lower the presser foot, and then sew. So you can keep doing this until you've done all the Flying Geese sets, but I won't be today. And so I've chained pieced here, and the reason why, and you can continue on and create this whole long chain. And the reason why it's called chain piecing is because you've got the stringer thread that's sort of attaching them together, but then you can then remove it on the with the blade on the side of the machine. And the reason why I chain piece is just because it's faster, because I'm not having to stop and start the machine to try and like pull, take the piece of like sewn pieces out. And the chain piecing, you use less thread as well, because it's not like, it's not like you're pulling and then like, unhooking it and whatnot. So yeah. Anyway, so I'm gonna turn this, I split these in half, and I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch from this marked line. So lower the needle and then sew. And repeat as well. Also, if you were sewing with pins, you could remove the pins after the first seam that you sew with these, because that seam kind of holds it together. So that way you don't have to worry so much. But anyway, so I've done these, and now I have prepared a whole bunch of it as well, and this is another really quick method. So now you've done chain piecing, which makes it fast to piece them all. Oh, sorry, I forgot to let you know I am moving my camera. Um, there you go. Um, yeah, so chain piecing is one way in making the piecing process faster. And then now we're moving on to this next part where it's you're required to cut these flying geese sets, and we're going to cut them a whole batch of them at a time as well. A good thing at this point is just to make sure that you do have a sharp rotary cutter as well, because we will be cutting through multiple layers of fabric at a time. So I have a cutting mat here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to find a vertical guide on this cutting mat. It can be any vertical guide, but I'm going to just choose this one that's the number 5 that's running here. And what I do is then I will then match the marked guide with, say, the number 5 vertical guide going down on the cutting mat. So I've got that all matched up, all aligned. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick another piece of these flying geese sets, and I'm going to stack it on top. But because I've have this first sort of flying geese set lined up already, I can then refer to one of the marked guides here and match that up with the vertical marked guide with this next one here, and also with the 5 guide down here. And I'm just going to continue to repeat that. So here we go. I'm going to probably just do 4 for now. And then I'll repeat it again for you with 2. So then that way you kind of get an idea. So now I'm going to get my quilting roller. And I would suggest that you do this standing up as well, because we are cutting through several layers of fabric. You want to apply as much you know, body weight or pressure to ensure that the ruler is, stabilized and, it's not shifting and whatnot. So, right now, so what I've done is I've lined up the ruler with so I've got a 1/4 inch here. So with that 1/4 inch guide, I've placed it on top of the seams on this left side, like so. And then I've got my rotary cutter and I'm going to apply some pressure and then cut. So then you've done a whole bunch of them like this. And I'm going to show you the quilt pattern just for comparison, just so that you know where we are up to now. So we've done the sewing part, which is step 2. Or no, sorry, that's part of step 3, sorry. And then, so you've sewed it, and then what I've done is just cut it. So that's the step that we've just done. And then now we're going to get the iron and then press these open, to the dark side, whichever way you want to press. There's no wrong or right way. So yes, we've done this step or this little part here really quickly, the cutting just then. So I'm going to get the iron. Oops, I forgot to turn it on. So, all right. But yes, right now, what I'm going to do, actually, while that's waiting to be heated up, I'll show you, I'll demonstrate this step again in case you kind of missed it or you didn't get it the first time. So I've got these 2 flying geese sets and they're sewn. So if I'm looking at the pattern, we're talking about step 3, or like kind of part A of step 3. So we've sewn these, right? Okay. And then now we're going to be cutting. So we're going to split that in half diagonally. So we're looking at the cutting mat. I'm going to use the 5, the vertical guide with the 5, right? So I'm going to match the marked guide on this, which goes down the middle, with the 5 vertical guide on the cutting mat. So it goes all the way down like that. And then now, because I know that this is correctly positioned, I'm going to use that as a guide to help me in positioning this next one here. So I'm going to use the marked guide on this first piece with this straight guide that runs down here. And so that looks good. And I'm just going to just adjust it slightly. So then that way the marked guide here is lined up with the marked guide, or with the guide on the cutting mat, which is the 5. And then I'm going to grab my quilting ruler, and there's a 1/4 inch guide here. And I'm going to measure, I'm going to line that 1/4 inch marked guide on the ruler with the sewn seam on the left. Right. That looks pretty good to me. And then cut. So then I've done that second part of step 3 really quickly because I've done that to multiple pieces there. So I think my iron is warm enough now. So I'm gonna press these guys. So if you were doing these as like one set, you would then have 2 of these. But I'm going to show you, because this tutorial is about speedy tricks. We're going to do this part with 4 of these sections. So I'm just going to press. And remember, when you're pressing, it's just pressing down, and you're not ironing vigorously back and forth in this kind of motion, because some of these pieces of fabric are cut on the bias, and so that means the fabric just gets really stretchy. It could get pretty stretchy, and especially if with that vigorous motion, you can actually stretch the fabric, and that can also kind of make the piecing part sometimes inaccurate, or maybe your points might not match up. Anyway, so I've got that, and then I'll do another 2 as well. Why not? I'll do it in the peach color. Okay. All right, so now we've done that. I'm going to grab the pattern just to show where we are up to now. So I've pressed it, and now it should look something like this, right? Like these guys. And now we're going to move on to step 4. And step 4 requires you to put one of those marked squares that we did at the beginning. And we're going to place it here, one of the corners here. And then we're going to, with the marked guide, similar to the step before, we're going to sew a 1/4 inch away from both sides of the marked guide. So I'm going to slightly adjust, and here you go. This is more of a clear sort of diagram of what we're trying to do. So I'm going to slightly move my camera slightly, and I'm going to do some sewing, and then I will show you one more speedy kind of way to make these flying geese.
All right, while she's moving her camera, don't forget we're live in the chat down below. So ask your questions, leave your comments. Are you sewing along? Because if you are, we would love to know what colors you're using. And don't forget to share your photos and use hashtag Brother Sews. So I think just yell when you're ready down there, and I will make sure.
Yeah, I'm ready now. Yeah.
Ready and go. Actually, I was like, when you're putting these together, I was thinking, this is awesome. Are you going to do 200 of them? No.
Well, you are technically, the pattern requires you nearly 200. So yeah. But like I said, like I am showing you some speedy tricks that you might not necessarily have heard of or know, or you have heard of it but then just forgot about it or just need a refresher. So that's why I'm here. But these are kind of like the small little things that I do to speed up my quilting process.
Which I really find, I'm sure everybody here watching, I really find this helpful, because what you're showing is really fast. You can just sew through one to the other, and
yeah.
super fast. You taught me that on your quilting.
Oh, really?
Along. Yeah. And I actually helped a young girl. She was doing some quilting, and she's like, this is taking forever. And I go, I have a tip that I learned from Wendy. It
But you
really
can
makes a
also,
difference.
yeah, it can make, and you can also do that with garment sewing too. So like with garment sewing, sometimes I just do like, instead of like, I have all the pieces all lined up and I try to like, have all those sewn seams that I can, as much as I possibly can, done,
Yeah.
and then just like press or have to iron all at the one time. So then I'm just doing like one step or like one sort of type of task, like all the sewing done, all the cutting done, so then that way, like I'm not having to like stop, start, reset, reset
Yes.
this like, workspace in order for me to cut or to iron. So I try to work efficiently in that aspect. And I think quilting has helped me out a lot with kind of integrating that process or that way of thinking when it comes to, say, garment sewing or other types of sewing crafts. So, yeah.
I agree 100%. But I love watching because
Oh,
I could
yeah.
see using this to design my own fabric for garments. So
Mm-hmm.
uh,
Yeah.
whenever we show one thing, it makes us think of other things. So
Yeah.
great job, Wendy.
Thanks. All right, so we're now on the sewing machine again. So I'm going to place this square on top. And again, if you want to, you can pin it. I'm again a little bit lazy. I don't really like pinning. So I'm going to place this on top of this. I guess I forgot what our Flying Geese section. I think that's what I wrote as. And I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch on each side of this smart guide, and then lower the needle, and then sew. And then because we're chain piecing, I'm going to grab another one of these, put this, so I'm lining up and make sure the diagonal guideline is facing the correct way. So I've got it lined up here at the corner, and I'm going to lift it slightly and continue sewing. All right, and I've got one more of these peachy ones. I love this color. Angela, what's your favorite color?
I love those colors you're using. My
Yeah.
favorite color is probably pink. I
Ooh.
say probably because I say that, but then I like red and I like peaches, peach colors. I like all the colors you picked there for sure.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, just I feel like sometimes with colors, it just like sometimes you do like some colors and you don't, or you don't think about it, but when they're placed with some other colors, it just makes it more attractive. That makes sense.
It does, and I agree
Yeah.
100%.
All right. And so I'm chain piecing for these. Let's see, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, that's enough for you to kind of get an idea. So I'm going to use the cutting. Mhm. And so I have a whole chain of these sort of flying geese sections. If you want to, another quick way is because I've got these all chained up, and we know that we're going to have to stitch on the other side here. So what I do is then I then just continue sewing and chain piecing. And even though that these are all kind of attached to each other, and I'll show you something at the end. Okay, so and explain to you why that this is another quick method. Hang on, it's getting caught because of all the seams at the bottom. Hang on. Hang on. It's a seam allowance at the bottom, so all right. And then I want to finish this off. Adjust this. I'm kind of using like the previous one as sort of like a leader fabric for me. Hang on. Oh, it's getting caught with the seam at the back. Sure, I've got that to the thing. Keeps getting caught today. All right, here we go. So I want to do that. Right, there we go. So if you chained piece the first round and didn't cut the chains, and then you're going to sew again the second time around. So now what you could do, instead of having to remove the chain twice, you could just do it once because you're just slicing it. Oops. You're slicing two at a time like this. Or, I mean, if you miss it, then obviously you might end up swiping it, but you could try that as well. So I've done all of this, and again, we're going to do the really similar thing as to before, where we cut these into two parts and then use the cutting mat as a guide. So we're going to do the same thing for these guys as well. So I'm going to push this to the side. I'm going to bring my cutting mat back and just quickly adjust the camera so you have a bird's eye view of what I'm working on.
All right, while she's moving that, I'll just take that out and again, ask your questions. I love this technique. This video, I remember from last year, something very similar. It's one I save to watch over and over.
Really?
So I sew with, first I like to watch and then try it on my own.
Yeah, no, it is the fastest way that you can with Flying Geese, the 4 at a time method. And it's quite amazing how, like, just simply the placement of the squares or even just like the measurements, like, you know, it can turn into 4 flying geese instead of just the one. Um, and I'm gonna guess people may ask, like, oh, well, how do you know, like, how big the squares have to be, or how big, or how many of these squares that you'll need if you wanted to make it in a different size? If you just simply go online and like just Google like flying geese like chart or calculator, it will provide you with all those kind of measurements. So, it's a fun way to sort of like creating your own designs if you just kind of know the general basis of like how to construct it, and all you got to know is just the measurements. Okay, so anyway, I'm back at the cutting mat. I've done all the sewing here. So if I'm looking at the quilt pattern, I'm up to this step. Hang on. We're up to we're at step 5, and then we cut that in half, and then you turn it into flying geese. So same idea. I'm going to find a mark on a vertical line on the cutting mat. So I'm just going to use 5 again. Line it up with the marked guide on the square, and using the previous square that I just placed, that vertical guide that's going down, I'm going to place this on top. So then I use the vertical line here to match it up with the vertical line on the previous one, and the 5 vertical guide on the cutting mat. And I'm just going to keep repeating that. I'll do it on these 3 first, and then I'll do it on 2 on the other ones. So I'll match. So what I do is I get the 1/4 inch guide on the ruler and make sure that that's lined up with or matched up with the seam on the left of the marked guide on the flying geese. All right, and then grab my rotary cutter, apply pressure with the non-dominant hand. And again, do this when you're standing up because you're cutting through several layers of fabric. So you want to make sure that you got a clean guide, or like sweep through with the rotary cutter. And there you go. That step is done really quickly. And another quick way when you're pressing these, so now that you notice that they're kind of like a triangular V, so I kind of like batch them in half. So it's like this. So then when I'm pressing all these flying geese that are going the one direction, and then I can rotate these and then press all the flying geese that's going this direction. That makes sense. But then see, I'm not going to press it, but you get the idea. But like I've made several flying geese already by just simply talking to you then. So I will show it to you one more time here. And I think by then, I think you'll get an idea. So I got this flying geese, got the vertical guide here. I'm going to get the 5, use the 5 here, 5 vertical guide. line, match it with the marked guide here. Repeat. So I'm going to use the marked vertical guide on this sewn unit as a guide, and I'm going to place this on top. So match that mark guide on the one before and the 5 here. Get the ruler, find the 1/4 inch mark here, match that with the sewn line on the left, and cut. And voila, so you've got 4 flying geese there. And you just got to press it, and then just cut all the dog ears, like here. Yeah.
Super, super easy, super fun. Does anybody have any questions? Drop them in the chat. We are live in the chat today. Wendy, you make it look so simple.
Oh, thanks. I hope it does. And I hope it's going to be easy for you guys too, as you're like watching these videos and, going back to it as well. So I've been trying to teach myself how to knit recently, and I've been just watching so many YouTube videos and just going back, and it's just been so nice to be able to do that. So that's the same with these videos as well for the lifetime that it's going to be on the Brother YouTube channel, I believe. Is that right? You can always go back and watch it. So if you're stuck and you're not sure, I can always go back. You can play me back on slower speed. I've never heard myself talking in super slow speed before, but let me know how that sounds.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
And also what you're mentioning is correct. So if you're watching on Facebook and that's how you like to watch these videos, share this video to your page. That's the easiest way to find it on Facebook again. And be sure to follow Brother so you don't miss any of the new ones. But I find the easiest way to watch is on Brother Sew's YouTube channel. When you go to the YouTube channel, click on live shows and you'll see this show and all of the ones before it. Over 500 of them, actually.
Yeah.
So easy to watch there. And on YouTube, you can share it. You can have it with no ads. There's a lot of options there. So, and don't forget to subscribe while you're there too. So Wendy, this is super fun. So this is week 3 and we've got a lot more to go.
Yeah, well, I feel like this week it will feel a lot, but when you're done with the bulk of it, it's gonna come together. Like you're gonna really see it. I feel like with this week, you're just doing flying geese. It feels really mundane. You're like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I making 200 flying geese? But trust me, like it's gonna look so good at the very end. Like you're gonna have a quilt by I guess like by the beginning of spring, I guess. And then, yeah, I mean, it doesn't feel like spring in New York. We got hit so hard last month, like with all the snow, like it's crazy.
There was somebody in the chat on the last live that said they're from New York as well. And they said the snow probably won't melt until July. So this might be like a summer.
I believe it. I mean, it just felt like all the ice was melted and they're back. So that damn groundhog.
You never know. I don't think he's ever right.
Yeah, he should go into retirement.
So Wendy, this was a lot of fun. So next week, everyone, mark your calendar for noon Eastern on Thursday for part 4. Can you give us a little preview of what we're going to be doing next week?
So with part 4, we're going to be focusing on flying geese, but flying geese, you could do so many things with it. So it's still related to the what should we call it? The quilt along. But I just kind of also want you to think outside of the quilt along and what you can actually do outside when you're done with this quilt as well. So we're just going to be exploring like different color layouts of flying geese. Not flying geese. Oh my god. I mean, technically we kind of are, but with Sawtooth Star, and you can create some really cool stuff out of it. So yeah,
that's great. That's great. And if anybody jumped in, we've put links in the description for how you can download this. Here is her website. Again, it's scrolling at the bottom, but if you need to take a quick screenshot, that's where everything is being hosted. And sign up for her newsletter so you don't miss anything happening. And even if it's after this is over, the whole live thing, sign up for her newsletter anyways, because she always
it's like I don't spam you. I hate marketing emails, to be quite honest. So yeah. I was like,
I
I make
mean,
sure I give you good content. But yeah.
only going to give you really good stuff, right?
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you might get the freebie, which is this particular project. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
just
I
gotta
don't
keep
know
an
why
eye out.
I kind of just made a flying geese of our cameras. So
Oh, yeah, I was like, that's new.
all right, until next time, happy sewing, everyone. Leave your comments and questions below. Let us know what you're working on. And don't forget, use hashtag Brothers Sews. So Wendy, thank you so much. See you next week.
See ya.
Bye.